Hello, I'm Bud McCord. I'm here in Brazil, South America. Welcome to Food for Thought, Thinking with Jesus. We're walking through John's Gospel to see Jesus, hear Jesus, let Jesus love us so we will love him, so we can begin to share Jesus with our neighbors. It's truly a remarkable thing to hear these words spoken by John the Apostle, who was telling us what it was like to awaken every morning, to see Jesus, hear Jesus, learn to love Jesus so he could live Jesus. It's a remarkable statement here of every single verse. We're in chapter 2. Today is Friday, August 13th, 2021. And we're getting to the end of chapter 2. We've seen a lot in chapter 2, haven't we? We've been looking at Jesus' first miracle, which really began his works of miraculous works and of helping people and freeing people from whatever bondage they were suffering. We've also seen him go into the most holy place in the world, the temple, and cast out people who had profaned that environment. And we have seen him get the attention very quickly on this Easter weekend, or this Easter week, the Passover week, which is so significant in the life of Jesus, because that will be where his life goes to its end at Calvary a few years later. So it's been an amazing thing. And now here's a statement we're going to end with for this week that is really interesting. I hope you will take a moment to read these and listen to these words as I read them, because it's really an insightful, beautiful statement that is made here about what Jesus knows about us as human beings and what he knows about himself. Listen to these words in verse 23. It says this: "Now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover during the feast, many believed in his name when they saw the signs which he did. But Jesus did not commit himself to them, because he knew all men, and had no need that anyone should testify of man, for he knew what was in man." I want to read that again, because this is such a remarkable statement about Jesus, where he does the miracles, he gathers all of his attention, and so different than most religious leaders. He doesn't try to take that huge crowd of support and turn that into something that he's going to commit himself to. He's already committed to his Father. He's already committed to his own relationship with his Father, and he knows why he's here and what he's doing here. But when he's dealing with human beings, he has a very clear understanding of what we as human beings are capable of. Do we have this understanding of ourselves? Do we really look at ourselves as honestly as Jesus looked at these people? It says, "Now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover during the feast, many believed in his name when they saw the signs which he did." They saw that he could do incredible things, and so they gathered close to him. But Jesus did not commit himself to them, because he knew all men, and had no need that anyone should testify of man, for he knew what was in man. It's an amazing statement. Many years I've been preaching the Sermon on the Mount, and in the Sermon on the Mount, I see Jesus as a prophet. And in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is incredibly optimistic. That's where you see the Beatitudes, blessed and blessed. 9 times he repeats this phrase, blessed, which means supported by the divine, supported by God. And so Jesus is profoundly optimistic. But Jesus is also deeply realistic. That's what you hear him saying when he says, you've heard it old that you should hate your enemy and love everybody else, but you can hate your enemy. He says, no, I say love your enemy. Jesus is realistic. He's optimistic, but he's very realistic. And in chapter 6 of the Sermon on the Mount, he talks about 9 different areas we have to be realistic about ourselves. We have to know what we're capable of not doing and what we're capable of doing. And then he is also certain. So there's 3 characteristics I think we can see here in Jesus when he says he did not commit to these people because he knew what was in man. Jesus was profoundly optimistic about what he could make of humanity. So optimistic was Jesus that it says in John chapter 1 that he would give those who received him power to become the sons of God. Now that's optimism. When you look at humanity, if you even just look at yourself, even if you just look at yourself, and if I just look at myself, I know how dangerous I can be. Now that may sound shocking to you, but it isn't. It needs to be said, it needs to be understood. If I am left alone with my circumstances, and I am left alone to my own desires, and if I am left alone simply to make up my own mind as if I'm God, I'm dangerous, and you are too. The things that human beings can do to one another is unbelievably bad. And I know someone will say, well, I'm not that bad. Well, don't ask Jesus to commit to you in the sense that he's going to trust what you can do. He trusts what he can do for you and in you. You know, anytime you get a group of people that think they're morally superior anywhere on the planet, and they are morally superior to everybody else, watch out. Because the minute we think that we are morally superior to anybody else, we just open up the possibility of what Jesus knows about us. He would say it like this later in the book of John, without me, you can do nothing. Why would he say such a thing? Because it's true. I don't just need Jesus to be forgiven. I need Jesus to not be dangerous, to not be manipulative, to not be judgmental, to not be full of covetousness. I need Jesus to be in me what I could never be alone by myself. Discipleship really has to be Jesus committed to us because we are first committed to him. We must believe, and to believe is to commit. Now, Jesus would not commit to this group of people. That doesn't mean he wouldn't go forward and die for them. That didn't mean that he would stop doing miracles. It didn't mean that he wasn't loving them. He was just dealing with the reality. There was no one he could commit to in this world until he had done everything that was needed to change us, to forgive us, and to live in us. And every single day of our lives as disciples, we need to recognize that without Jesus in us, we cannot love with our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and our neighbor as we love ourselves, unless he commits to us. But he will only commit to us if we lose our life in order to find our life. It's a paradox. We have to die to the illusion that we can be trusted, and we have to come to the conclusion that he can be trusted. He can be trusted. Discipleship is Jesus. It's not us. It's not our decision. It's the fact that he is optimistic about us, but he is profoundly realistic about us, because that's why he had to go to the cross, because he's that realistic about us. And he's absolutely certain of what he can do in my life and in your life. And we need to rise to that level of certainty where we can finally say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, but I can do nothing. Nothing. You know, it's very popular today for people to look down on other people, to judge other people to be irrelevant, and to just simply trash everybody all around us, whatever side of the political aisle we're on. It's crazy time. But for a Christian, we should all be saying, I am a sinner. and I need Christ. For to me, to live is Christ. It's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And Christ needs to be formed in me. It's so important for all of us to know that Jesus is not committing to us because he found a few of us better than others. No, he committed to us to become for us perfect love at Calvary, and in us perfect love in which we can abide each day. And then we can bear the fruit of the Spirit. I hope you'll think on these things. There's much more in this passage than just a quick reading will let you see. You really have to go into it and say, Jesus knows everything about me. He knows what I would be capable of without him. I don't even know if I want to think about that. I don't even know if I want to even think about that, but I have to think about that because it takes me back to him to know that without him, I can do nothing. But with him, I can do things that will glorify God. Think on these things very deeply. I'm just a guide, remember? The Holy Spirit in you is the one who really does the teaching. God bless you. Have a great day.